We're good to go? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Council, I recognise the traditional custodians of the land and pay tribute to elders past, present and emerging. As councillors of Ku-ring-gai Council, we should always be aware that the decisions that we make affect the daily lives of those that we represent. Let us all make these decisions with knowledge, goodwill and respecting the views of others. Before we start this evening's meeting, I would like to outline a few points regarding the proceedings. Tonight's meeting will be live streamed on the Council's website and only councillors and Council staff will be shown on camera. The webcast of the meeting is available on Council's website and the webcast commences once the Mayor is seated and will cease if Council goes into a confidential session where the public and the press are excluded pursuant to Section 10A of the Local Government Act. Council meetings remain open to the public as observers only, but in line with the Code of Meeting Practice, speakers now address the Council through the monthly public forums and not at Council meetings. All present tonight must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the Council's Code of Conduct or making other potential defamatory statements. Mobile phones should be switched off or to silent. Councillors and Council staff must declare and manage any conflicts of interest that they may have in relation to any item of business that is the subject of the meeting agenda this evening. Before we commence, you will have noticed that one of our councillors is extremely well dressed and asked me to indulge that she speak on, apparently it's a special time of the year. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I am dressed up this evening because I've just come from a function celebrating the India's 77th independence today, of freedom from British colonial rule, a significant milestone of the country. Independence Day is celebrated with pomp across the nation and Indians around the globe. This year, the theme is Independence Day is Nation First, Always First. August 15, 1947, India marked its independence as a 200-year-old British rule came to an end. Many leaders played a prominent role in the Indian struggle, including Mahatma Gandhi and Nehru. Independence Day is also a reminder of the many sacrifices and struggles made by the Indian freedom fighters to help the country achieve its freedom from the British Raj and why we should honour this independence. The day invokes feelings of patriotism for the nation and willingness to serve the country and lead it to prosperity. It also creates a sense of unity. Today, many local councils held many events of flag raising and celebrating the 75th anniversary. My Indian forefathers taught us to keep our heads high. Let us live our lives with dignity and have the will to protect the peace and essence of our nation. Let us honour the past, celebrate the present, and prepare to light up our future. Happy Independence Day. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Apologies. We have all councillors present this evening. General Manager, any staff apologies?
Mr. Mayor and councillors, Director Bevan is on leave and Miss Leaf is Acting Director of Community tonight.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Councillors, any declarations?
I have
Councillor
one.
Alec Taylor.
Thank you. I have an insignificant and non-pecuniary interest for item number GB1 as I volunteer at Community Access Services in St Ives. I thought with the Mayor's permission I might stay in chambers if it's voted on without debate, but just not participate in the vote if you're comfortable with that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. You really have to decide whether you're going to be in or out on the vote.
If he's in, he doesn't.
If you're in, you're in, you're out. Right. That's okay. General Manager, any staff declarations?
Mr. Mayor and councillors, I wish to declare a conflict of interest in relation to two items, C3 Contract of Employment General Manager and C4 General Manager's Performance Review for 2022-23, and advise that all staff will be leaving the chambers for consideration of those two items.
Thank you. Documents circulated to councillors.
Mr Mayor and councillors, just the Greens, which contains one petition against footpaths in Harcourt and Stella Close, 24 signatures.
And the suburb location of that.
Doesn't say, Mr Mayor, but I understand from hearing some of the councillors it might be in Gordon Ward.
That's fine, just so the councillors know the approximate location of that. Confirmation of reports and attachments to be considered in closed meeting.
Mr Mayor and councillors, there are a number. C1, New South Wales Heritage Act 1977, report and attachments. C2, acquisition of land at Gordon, report and attachments. C3, contract of employment, general manager, report and attachments. C4, general manager's performance review for 2022-23, report and attachments. Late item C5, St Ives Indoor Sports Centre, tender for construction. And GB10, review of the HOA Ku-ring-gai High School Joint Use Project. Just attachments 1 through 4.
Thank you, General Management. I need a mover and seconder of that those remaining confidential. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Alec Taylor. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Councillor Ward.
I'm sorry, Mr Mayor. I do have a conflict of interest with Lifeline Harbour to Hawkesbury. I am a non-pecuniary director on that board.
And that's on GB?
GB1.
Thank you. Confirmation of minutes. I need a mover and seconder for the minutes. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Ward. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Minutes from the Mayor. We have one this evening, and it is a fairly lengthy one, so I won't read that out. And I'm quite happy to put that recommendation. And should any councillor wish to speak to it? If not, then I'm quite happy to put that mayoral minute. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Petitions, we have one late one through the Greens, which is a Gordon Ward one, so would anybody like to move that petition? Moved by Councillor Lennon and seconded by Councillor Ward, thank you. And you're moving that the petition be received and referred to the appropriate officer of council for attention. All those in favour? That is unanimous, thank you. We move to general business, and I invite anybody wishing to have a site inspection on any particular item. No site inspections, thank you. And I invite councillors to nominate any item on the agenda that they wish to adopt in accordance with the officer's recommendation, allowing for minor changes without debate. Councillor Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do realise that there are some conflicts declared on GB1. I intend to move officer's recommendation for
We'll let those two councillors with GB1, we'll let those two retire. So officer's recommendation on GB1, moved by Councillor Spencer, seconded by Councillor Lennon. All those in favour? That is unanimous. We'll just get those councillors back.
And Mr. Mayor, if there are no other conflicts, I intend to move officer's recommendation for GB 2 to GB 15.
And before we get a seconder for that, I'll just alert councillors that in the yellow part, you will see that part C for GB2 is different to what is on page 155. So you'll be moving as per the recommendation for GB2 on page 155.
Yes, from GB 2 to GB 15, and that includes the attachments on GB10 as well. I believe there's 4 of them.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could you please say that again? What has changed?
So on GB2, if you look in your yellows, you'll see that point C for GB2 says councillors approve the 2 motions in this report. If you go to the report on page 155, you will note that point C is actually council approve the proposed motion setting development assessment fees in line with cost recovery contained in attachment 2. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. So those items are moved by Councillor Spencer, seconded by Councillor Wheatley. You had your light on first, unless there's a withdrawal of any particular item.
withdrawing. So it's 10.
GB10,
GB10 withdrawn by Councillor Wheatley.
And I'd like to withdraw GB6.
GB. So with the exception of GB 6 and 10, I move GB 2 to 15 as officer's recommendation.
Seconded by Councillor Lennon. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
And I would like to deal with the confidential items, if I may.
You can, yes.
That is C1 to C3. I'll leave C4 and 5, is that? So, I'm sorry, C3 and 4, I'm sorry. So, let me repeat, C1, C2, and C5.
Withdraw C1.
Withdraw C1.
So we have moving...
So, I'll repeat again. So, C2 and C5, officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Kay. All those in favour? That is unanimous.
And finally, I would like to move NM2 as printed.
Yes, you're quite at liberty to do that as it's your notice of motion. And a second for that is seconded by Councillor Kay, which is NM2, Councillor Spencer's notice of motion. All those in favour? That is...
Without debate.
We're all good? All those in favour of NM2? That is councillors... I'll call for the vote. Councillor Kay, Councillor Spencer, Councillor Nye, Councillor Alec Taylor, Councillor Greg Taylor, Councillor Pettit. Against? Councillors Lennon, Smith, Wheatley and Ward. That is carried.
Sorry, Councillor Ward is 4 as well, NM2.
Councillor Ward, you're in favour of NM2. I'm quite happy to do that again, so for clarity. So all those in favour of NM2, Councillors Kay, Spencer, Nye, Councillor Alec Taylor, Councillor Greg Taylor, Councillor Ward, Councillor Pettit. Against? Councillors Lennon, Smith, Wheatley. That is carried.
And I believe that is all. That leaves us with NM1 and the others.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Councillor Nye, you wish to move yours?
I'd wish to move NM1 without debate, seeing if it's withdrawn.
Withdrawn by Councillor Kay.
And I know I sort of withdrew C1, but can we just do that separately without debate if no one else objects?
So you're moving C1 as per...
Moving C1 as printed.
That's seconded by Councillor Spencer. All those in favour, C1. That is unanimous. Thank you, Councillor Nye.
Oh, I'm against one, so record me as against C1. Can I move something and then vote against?
Yes.
Okay.
So all those in favour of C1. Councillor Kay, Councillor Spencer, Councillor Lennon, Councillor Smith, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Alec Taylor, Councillor Greg Taylor, Councillor Ward, Councillor Pettit. Against? Councillor Nye. C1 is carried.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, do you want to inform them that NM1, if they are camping out?
So if you're here for NM2, which was the heads of agreement, that has been passed and dealt with. So you're quite welcome to leave, or you can remain if you wish. If somebody is here also for GB11, that has been passed. And again, you can stay or go as you so desire. Councillors, we move to GB6, which was withdrawn by Councillor Smith.
Mr Mayor, I would like to move officer recommendation on GB6, but I'd also like to ask a couple of questions, please.
So GB6 is officer's recommendation, moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Kay. Councillor Smith.
Yes, Mr Mayor, what I would just like to understand is that, I understand that we've got a court ruling on GB6. I would just like to understand what the costs are to the ratepayers on GB6, please.
In regards to the Land and Environment Court
Yes, in
case?
regards to the Land Environment Court costs, please.
Mr Taylor?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and councillors. So I believe Councillor Smith was referring to the proceedings, the Class 4 proceedings of the Land Environment Court that were recently concluded, brought by a body called Natural Grass at Norman Griffiths, Inc. The report that's before you today does not have much information or any information about that case because it was commenced in the court, I think, on the last day of last financial year, and this report before you is for the last financial year. That matter was brought on for hearing and heard in very short space of time, with a lot of work for the purpose of getting the matter determined before it would cause any interruption to the works currently occurring at Norman Griffiths Oval. The costs for those proceedings to council are not yet quantified. We got judgment last Friday and most of the invoices are yet to be received. But there was a very substantial amount of work. The costs will be significant. Basically, there were a number of solicitors, a barrister and 3 experts working full-time on it for 3 to 4 weeks. With hourly rates being what they are, that's going to be quite a substantial amount. Costs have been reserved. Council was successful. Costs have been reserved. We'll have to determine whether it's appropriate for us to seek a cost order given Council's success in the matter. But we are talking about a not-for-profit group that brought the proceedings.
Councillor Smith, a further question you might have in regards to...
Yes, Mr Mayor. I understand that you're still pulling the figures together, but are we north of any particular figure? Are we like talking 50,000, 100, 150, 200, above?
Invoices received to date already total more than 100,000.
Yep.
It's likely to be more in the area of 300,000 to 400,000.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Ward?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question through you is to Mr Taylor. We were trying to seek costs for the 4th quarter, which didn't include this particular item.
Could the council please repeat the question?
The court costs we were looking for was for the 4th quarter, if you have those
Yeah, the
costs.
report, the new information before you is for the 4th quarter. This is a quarterly report. It gives the figures for the full financial year, the 4th quarter being the last quarter of that period.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. I'm quite happy to put GB6. We did have a second for that, which was councillor Kay. All those in favour for GB6? That is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We move to GB10, which was withdrawn by councillor Wheatley.
I think we have an amendment that we're bringing up. Chris?
Motion.
Sorry, motion, not amendment. And Jimmy James? Chris?
Chris, smile.
Yep. And we've got a second for
And a seconder for that?
Mr. Alec Taylor.
Councillor Spencer? Councillor Wheatley?
It is what it is. We need to go press ahead and obviously build the car park, and it's in black and white. Nothing further to add. We just need to get it done.
Thank you, councillor Wheatley. Councillor Taylor? Finally, councillor Spencer, you wish to speak as seconder?
If I may, thank you. This has been a long time coming. A few years ago, the hockey was looking at Barraburri as the home for hockey, and unfortunately that was not suitable because of traffic and so on, and this council worked very hard. I wouldn't take credit for it myself, but have to acknowledge the hard work of Director Watson and Bonasev as well, going there, putting their expertise together to make this happen. It's been a few years and a long time coming, and I'm really happy and glad to see that we are able to deliver at least this project in this council term for hockey, which is also predominantly a female sport. I think it is a good outcome and is a good thing for Ku-ring-gai. Thank you.
Councillor Taylor? You're good.
We can't see on what's going on.
Maybe it happens to not be available for a reason. Yeah, it's not.
Councillors, I'd like to put up an amendment because we do actually have a incorrect wording there, and I'll probably ask you to incorporate it. On the heads of agreement, you only need one person. You don't have the mayor and general manager. Okay, so you might wish to remove
One
that.
or the other, happy to.
Just remove the mayor.
Remove the mayor then.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, gone. General manager. It's an important project that we need to proceed with.
All good. Thank you very much. It's always good to get the wording correct.
Apologies for putting two people in there.
It's okay. Thank you, Councillor Wheatley. I can see your zest and enthusiasm for the project.
I was very enthusiastic.
Councillor Nye.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move an amendment, which is the officer's recommendation. And I seek a seconder.
And a seconder for that. Seconded is Councillor Kay.
Can I speak to it?
You certainly can, yes. The
All right.
officer's recommendation has points A and B.
So the recommendation basically is quite similar. The only difference from my perspective is that it seeks the HOA to be decided upon in October, so in 2 months' time instead of now. Now, I understand that there are some people who are very keen to proceed with an HOA, and I would also like to support the HOA. However, I do understand from legal advice that there are certain commercial terms that we would like to fine-tune in the remaining 2 months to October. I think it's in the ratepayers' best interest to seek clarification on some of these details before we proceed with an HOA. But other than that, I'm fully supportive of hockey. I want this project to proceed. I just want it to proceed on the right basis. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Nye. And seconder?
I'll reserve my right, thank you.
Thank you, councillor Kay. It's a little bit hard to tell which lights were on first.
Sorry,
Councillor Smith. Councillor Smith.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'm all for any benefit that we're going to have with our council and the heads of agreement. So just drilling in a little bit further with what councillor Nye has said, if I could ask a question through you to Director Watson. Director Watson, is there any benefit in having any longer to negotiate the heads of agreement versus what the motion has been put up this evening?
Director?
Gremlins.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the answer is no. The heads of agreement is exactly as tabled back in, I think it was the March meeting. The risk table is iterative. Some of those issues would be resolved in either the project deed or the project lease. But we would. The only reason there's a split reporting in the recommendation is that was the last recommendation of council, was to have a meeting or two reports in consequential meetings. And the reason I specifically said October is because we generally don't put controversial or particularly any matters other than administrative ones to a council meeting at which there's a mayoral election. So that's why I've said October. But if I would be reporting back exactly the same heads of agreement in October, I say in the report that there's in fact no impediments to dealing with the matter now.
Thank you. For that reason, I will be not in favour of the amendment that Councillor Nye has put forward. I think that I'll be speaking against it. I think this is a great opportunity and shows partnership with both us and the New South Wales State Government, which has stressed it sometimes. I think it's a great opportunity for female sports. I think it's a great opportunity to provide parking off Bobbin Head Road and for utilising for parking purposes. And it will give the opportunity for the likes of the hockey clubs and us to further explore what needs to be done and better plan for what can be provided. So thank you.
Councillor Alec Taylor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So just to confirm, through the General Manager to Director Watson, it sounds like there is no material opportunity to improve the heads of agreement in the next 2 months, so we may as well get on and approve it tonight.
Through you, Mr Mayor. The heads of agreement has effectively been agreed in principle by 3 parties, and it reflects a compromise on a number of key points. The one issue that has been raised with me that a number of people aren't happy with is the lack of proportional contribution of the state to ongoing maintenance. It's been made clear to councillors in a number of reports over a long period of time that the state wasn't prepared to budge on that, notwithstanding there is proportional splitting of costs for the basketball courts, for example. I don't want to put words in their mouth or paraphrase their position, but they don't need a synthetic hockey pitch themselves, and their view was they were quite happy to do it if there was no capital cost to them for the upgrade, which has been borne by hockey, and as long as there was no maintenance cost or asset replacement cost, which should be borne by council. So to be fair to education, they have been clear on that particular point for a number of years. So no, I don't think there's any point in going back on that. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. So I would just like to speak against the amendment. I think we're actually in violent agreement that this is a great opportunity for us to invest in. It's around $1 million that we'll spend on a car park and footpaths, and we'll get effective long-term control of a $4 million asset. It's a great sport. It has high representation of females. It's a smaller sport, which is great as well. So we're supporting smaller sports. But I think we all agree that, and the only question here is, can we materially improve the heads of agreement? It's sounding like there probably isn't that opportunity, so I suspect we should probably vote against this amendment and just pass the original motion.
Thank you, councillor Taylor. Councillor Wheatley, do you wish to speak?
I'm obviously going to speak against the amendment as well. I think that we need to press on with the heads of agreement. We need to spend the $1 million and obviously put that into the car park and get the cars off Bobbin Head Road. It's a female sport. I'm all for female sport. I think it's excellent and we should go ahead with it. There's obviously, from what Director Watson has said, there's no impact in regards to bringing it forward. So let's vote on it tonight.
Thank you. Councillor, I think Councillor Nye had yours on first. Then I'll go to Councillor Ward after that. Councillor Nye.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a question, and I don't know if I can ask it in presence of the public. I'm tempted to just ask it and then... Should we go into confidential? Or just ask it? Okay. You can choose not to answer, but does the HOA cover what happens if the car park exceeds the estimated cost? Is it explicit?
I think that's a potentially reasonable question, Director.
The last report to council, the March report, included a concept design and a fairly well worked up cost plan. It was a fairly detailed set of drawings, and there was a fair bit of headway between the two. That would be an issue covered in a project deed, and we have always said, and the heads of agreement says, our contribution is capped at $1 million.
Okay, thank you. I would like to withdraw the amendment if Councillor Kay would like to also withdraw.
Yes, that's fine.
Right, thanks.
That's fine. So we just revert back to Councillor Wheatley's motion. Councillor Ward. It's okay. So we're all good to go. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. I believe the majority of the gallery will probably want to go home now that that one's done. Yeah. Councillors, we move to NM1, which is Councillor Nye's motion. Councillor Nye.
Thank you. I'd like to move NM1 as printed and seek a seconder. Or do I? No.
Seconder for that. Seconded by Councillor Alec Taylor. Councillor Nye.
All right, thank you. NM1, the background to this is, I mean, you can read it yourself. A lot of it is about the activities of the private certification system. It was introduced in 1998 by the state government because at the time it was believed that local government was not processing development applications quickly enough. Now, with the private certification system, it has had some significant benefits. It has standardized development across the Metro Sydney area. It has sped up certain simpler developments by putting them through an exempt and complying development system. That means if you want to make a very small change to your home or even do a simple knockdown rebuild, you can go through a private certifier and it can be done quite quickly. Now, compared to going through council, which has its own costs and has its own delays. Now, the problem though that we face here in Ku-ring-gai, and I can't speak on behalf of other ward councillors, but for myself, once every few months, a resident will contact me and talk about a CDC that has occurred in their neighbourhood. Maybe it's their next door neighbour, maybe it's across the road, maybe it's in another street. Usually the complaint is along the lines of, surely this will not be permissible. And sometimes probably is because it's within the rules. But there are some times when residents perceive that it is like blatantly beyond what is even allowed in the state government's exempt and complying development code. In order to, for us as council, it's a bit difficult to respond to this because we don't have any powers to stop or withdraw or halt such works. And we tell this to our residents and they are just frustrated. They say, you're our councillor, how dare you neglect your duties, all that kind of stuff. But it's genuinely out of our hands. It is a state government scheme. Now, I'm proposing that this be put forward at the Local Government New South Wales conference in November. By putting it forward at the conference in November, what typically happens is that there may be a few councils who put motions on a similar topic. LGNSW will pull these motions together and come up with a final form, and they would propose such ideas to be voted on by the entire Local Government New South Wales body. If it is successful, then it will go off to the state government as part of LGNSW's lobbying activity. It doesn't mean that this is effectively put in place, it's just lobbying. But as you've all attended the conference, you may also know that it gets debated at the conference. So there will be other councillors there who say, I don't like point A, I don't like point B, this and that. And there will be a debate similar to what happens on the floor of council. But I think it is very important that both points A and B here are put before the LGNSW body so that they can at least be considered. Now, very briefly, point A says that seeks to establish a pool. So all the private certifiers register with a particular system, and if a developer wishes to have their development privately certified, they state the address, the size of the development, things like that, and then the system will generate perhaps 5 randomized private certifiers who fall under, who can handle something of that size and complexity. Now the developer has the opportunity to go out to all 5 and see which one is most appropriate for their particular needs. And the intent of this is so that you can't just cherry pick the private certifier of your choice, but it still enables competition. It still enables the option to choose a private certifier from a randomized pool without having that risk of selecting someone for a particular purpose. Point B basically gives council the power to invalidate an improperly issued certificate. So that bypasses all the grief and drama of going to the Land and Environment Court. That bypasses all the grief and drama that comes from an improperly built house, built and challenged a year or 2 later. So both of these are, in my opinion, good ideas. I'd like to thank the staff for the opportunity to work on these. I hope that these are put forward before the conference so that at the conference, both of these ideas, A and B, can be debated in a healthy manner. Thank you.
And as seconder, Councillor Alec Taylor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe that Councillor Nye was being conservative about the number of residents that complain about these complying developments. I receive many a week, I would say, that, where a resident raises with me an issue around a house down the road has been knocked down, the entire block has been levelled, and there's a square building going up, and is it within the boundaries, is it within the laws of a complying development? A private certifier was involved. That is completely, I hear that all the time. That is a very common thing for me to hear. I'm strongly in favour of Councillor Nai's motion. We have developments that are breaching the rules and are getting away with it. We have very little power to correct them. We can get involved from time to time, and I know that councillors have no direct involvement, but I do know the staff do their best. But I think we need more grunt to do this, and it doesn't have to be councillor grunt. I think it could be staff. Anyway, I strongly endorse this motion. I'm not as fussed about point A, I must admit. I think that the power of veto would be fantastic, but I am in favour of the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Kay?
Okay, so I'd like to firstly commend Councillor Nye and appreciate the work and effort that has gone into point B, and I strongly agree with that. I also wanted to ask Councillor Nye if he would consider taking out point A or you can give me a bit more of an explanation, because I'm not really comfortable with point A and the consumer not having a choice. They may be finding out that there might be private certifiers that have been fined. If we're giving out a random pool, which you've just explained, 5 random private certifiers, again, the consumer may not get a choice, and I'm just not comfortable with the random pool. So would you look at withdrawing that point A? I'm happy to support point B, I've got no issues there.
Councillor Nye?
In terms of withdrawal, I'd prefer it to be moved as an alternate motion, that it's just A part B only. Then we can vote on it, and then, if that's successful, then so be it. But my preference is for both A and B to go to the conference, where the body of councillors can consider.
Councillors, we have 2 options. We can either have an amendment, which is just point B, or you can vote in seriatim on points A and B.
Seriatim?
To vote in seriatim, moved by Councillor Kay as a procedural motion, unless councillors...
Mr Mayor, I wouldn't mind just asking a couple more questions, if I may.
We're not voting on the matter just yet, so we'll let the questions roll first. Councillor Kay, perhaps?
Either way, yeah. If Marta wants to ask questions, that's fine.
Councillor Kay, if you want to take your light off. Actually, Councillor Smith, Councillor Lennon had the next light, unless Councillor Lennon wishes to...
So I must admit, Mr Mayor, I'd like to hear Councillor Smith's questions, if I may, and then I'd be pleased to speak afterwards.
It's very, very generous, Councillor Lennon. Councillor Smith.
We're a very polite council this evening. Thank you, Councillor Lennon. Mr Mayor, a question through to you, to Director Majosic. I think considering that this has got a lot to do with your area and expertise, could I please get some feedback in relation to A and B on this? Thank you.
Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In relation to point B, part B rather, I, with the assistance of Council's corporate lawyer, helped Councillor Nye with the technical aspects of that. In relation to A, I suppose the question is best put to Councillor Nye as to why he's putting Part A and what benefits he sees in Part A over and above the existing system.
Councillor Smith.
Mr Mayor, I think everybody knows this is coming. Mr Mayor, may I ask Councillor Nye just to expand on the reasons why? Thank you.
In brief terms, Councillor Nye.
The benefit of A is that a developer cannot then go to their tried and trusted mate who has done various private certifications in the past and will do it again under certain expected terms. The benefit of A is that it is genuinely randomized. You do still have choice because there's a pool to choose from, but you're prevented from going directly to one particular private certifier to do the same work over and over again to the same level of quality that you may have expected in the past. It genuinely puts private certifiers in a place where they believe they can act neutrally. Thanks.
Councillor Smith, any further questions? No, thank you. Councillor Lennon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I like this motion and I like where Councillor Nye is headed. The certifier system, I think, has taken power away from local residents through their local government authorities and handed it to the marketplace, which is wonderful in theory, but I fear that the system has catered towards a system that is not really accommodating the wishes of local residents. And I hate the thought of compromising the choices of the consumers, but I think this is a particular case where we have to, because we don't want to accommodate a system by which those certifiers that are soft touches, that accommodate to the fast and loose, perhaps among owners and developers and others, are given more leeway than they need. So I like the motion and I'm supportive of the way Councillor Nye has expressed it. And I look forward, as Councillor Nye says, to this creating a debate. And perhaps at the end of the day, after the local government conference, things will be amended, but at least this is kicking off a process that we need to do. I think the system is in desperate need of reform. And as Councillor Alec Taylor said, Councillor Nye is a way too polite person. The system has serious issues, and I'm very pleased for this motion and very pleased to support it in Councillor Nye's terms. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lennon. Councillor Kay.
I've just got a question through you, the General Manager, to the relevant Director, which is Director Miosic. With the developer, obviously they may recommend a private certifier. Is the consumer not able to say, no, I don't want that particular private certifier, or ask the developer to potentially have another?
Director?
The way the system, through you, Mr Mayor, the way the system works at the moment is it's basically no different to selecting one's own architect, engineer, plumber, builder. You're completely free. There's a register of accredited certifiers that appears on the website of the accreditation body, which is Fair Trading New South Wales, and anyone can select any particular certifier for the work that they're proposing to do. There is no restriction.
So the choice is obviously back onto the consumer. The consumer does have choice here.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kay. Probably just a few other follow-up questions. There's been mention of 5 as a pool number, or 3. Why hasn't the state government done this previously? Director?
In all honesty, Mr Mayor, I don't know. It's probably a question best put to the state government.
And with this randomised pool, Director, have we got any details of what this concept is at this point in time? Whether, so you might be doing a development in Sutherland and you get a randomised pick that produces somebody out of Moree.
That's entirely possible, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Director. So from my perspective, very happy with point B. Point A, there needs to be a lot more fleshing out of how this magic pool is worked, how you get onto the pool, how you get punted from the pool, because we don't want dodgy certifiers or questionable certifiers. And what is the selection criteria for this pool to actually work? I think the concept is okay, but there's certainly a lot more work to do for this. All right. Councillor Smith.
Mr Mayor, through to you, I'm not sure if it's to Director Miosic or not. Would this be something that I suppose that we're able to implement, that we're operating within the framework of New South Wales planning?
Director?
Through you, Mr Mayor, that would require a change to the legislation because you would be introducing a restriction of choice that presently doesn't exist in the legislation or the regulation, both pieces of legislation.
So councillors, I'll roll back. Councillor Kay, we either have an opportunity to put an amendment, which is just point B, or councillors can vote in seriatim. And I'll leave that to you.
Seriatim, I think.
Seriatim, mate, that's quite okay. Thank you, Councillor Kay. All those and seconder for in seriatim, that is Councillor Alec Taylor. All those in favour of voting in seriatim on points A and B, that is unanimous. We will do point A first. All those in favour, and this is the randomised pool, all those in favour of point A is Councillor Nye, Councillor Lennon, Councillor Alec Taylor, Councillor Greg Taylor. I might just start that again, councillors. All those in favour of point A, that is Councillors Nye, Lennon, Smith, Wheatley, Alec Taylor, Greg Taylor, Councillor Ward. Against, Councillors Kay, Spencer, Pettit. Councillor A is carried. Point B, all those in favour of point B, that is unanimous. Thank you. Councillors, we now move to the two confidential items, which is C3, after the General Manager just runs through the business without notice subject to clause 9.3 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Questions with notice?
There are none.
There are none. Inspections? There are none. So for those in the gallery, we'll be going to a closed session, so we will be closing the doors. We're back in live session in regards to C3, the contract of employment for the General Manager. The resolution that was passed, that Council resolves, A, that the General Manager not be offered a new contract of employment and their current contract be terminated under clause 10.3.5 of the Standard Contract of Renewal. B, that the General Manager be thanked for his many years of service to the residents and Council of Ku-ring-gai. C, that the Mayor be delegated authority to authorise the payment of 38 weeks in lieu of notice in accordance with clause 11.3 of the contract and take any other administrative steps associated with termination of employment. D, that Council appoint Director Corporate to act in the vacant position of General Manager with immediate effect in accordance with section 336, subsection 1 of the Local Government Act 1993. In favour of that were Councillors Kay, Councillor Nye, Councillor Lennon, Councillor Alec Taylor, Councillor Greg Taylor, Councillor Ward. Against were Councillor Spencer, Councillor Smith, Councillor Wheatley, Councillor Pettit. That was carried 6 votes to 4. There being no further business on this evening, the meeting is adjourned, is closed.